So if you knew anything about Russiagate, you probably knew that Carter Page was a traitor to our country who was working for the Russians. It's Carter Page. Now, if you've heard his name, of Carter Page and Papadopoulos, you've heard that name a lot. Those names a lot in conjunction with the Russiagate investigation. They were two non-paid volunteers for the Trump campaign. And let's talk about Carter Page, because they got a FISA warrant on Carter Page because he was working with the Russians. And look at how this was reported in the mainstream news. Look at what they said.
There was a very clear belief that Carter Page was conspiring with Russia in ways that were nefarious.
There was overwhelming evidence to have probable cause to do surveillance on Carter Page. It would have been a dereliction of duty for our FBI not to have sought a surveillance warrant.
As you say, it makes a compelling case that there is probable cause to believe that Carter Page was acting as an agent of a foreign power.
So the Inspector General's report came out. And it turns out all that stuff that people were saying about Carter Page was propaganda and a smear. And here, let's go down. So this is even from NBC News. Even NBC News is going to tell you the truth about the Inspector General, or a little bit of the truth about the Inspector General's report. It says, in the most serious case, a low-level FBI lawyer altered an email to make it seem as if Carter Page was not a CIA source when in fact he was. Something he confirmed to NBC News in an email Monday. That key fact might have cast his contacts with Russians in a different light, the Inspector General found. So now, if you remember, we showed you before, and I'll tell you again, Carter Page, they went to the FISA court to get a warrant so they could tap him, right, and get all his info, to get a FISA warrant to surveil Carter Page, a volunteer to the Trump campaign. And they said to get that FISA warrant about Carter Page, they said he was working with the Russians. What they didn't say was that he was working with the CIA. That's the part the FBI left out. That's what the NBC News says there. They made it state, they altered an email from the CIA saying that Carter Page is working for the CIA. They altered that email in their FISA application. The lawyer for the FBI changed it to say he was not working for the CIA. So they're lying about an American citizen. The FBI in a secret court is lying to that secret judge about a United States citizen so they can get a surveillance on him. And if they get a surveillance on him, they can surveil the whole goddamn Trump campaign. And that's what they did. Here's some more problems. For example, an FBI source validation review found that Steele, you remember, put together the dossier. That's the P dossier that said Trump liked to be peed on, and they got that information from Russia. And that came through a guy named Steele who put together the dossier. And the FBI then used the dossier with the FISA court to get Carter Page's surveillance warrant. So they used the thing put together by Steele, the dossier. What didn't they tell them? Well, the FBI source validation review found that Steele, the guy who put together the dossier, who had worked with the Bureau in the past, provided information that was only minimally corroborated. So the FBI knew that the Steele dossier was minimally corroborated, meaning it was BS. But the FBI didn't tell the FISA court that, the Inspector General says. Can you believe those people said that stuff about Carter Page? Those videos I showed you at the top of this segment? Can you believe those are people on a news channel smearing a citizen who's being smeared by the FBI? They're not skeptical of the FBI whatsoever, or a secret court. The FBI interviewed one of the sources who made claims about Page in the Steele dossier. The source contradicted some of what Steele had written But the FBI didn't tell the court. That same source said Steele overstated the level of certainty around the notorious story about Trump's supposed sexual dalliance at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Moscow. That means the P-tape. The source called it unconfirmed rumor and speculation. So you know where they got this idea that Trump got peed on by it comes from the Steele dossier. And the guy who told Steele that it was unconfirmed rumor and speculation, and that he had no idea that he would include this in a official report, that this was a rumor that was said over beers at a pub. Made it into a FISA application for a surveillance on a United States citizen. Now, if they could do this to somebody working for a presidential campaign, imagine what the FBI can do for you. And we would have never known about this, but except for the Inspector General had to investigate the FBI's investigation. That's so many basic and fundamental errors. This is according to the Inspector General. That there were so many basic and fundamental errors were made by three separate hand-picked teams. One of the most sensitive FBI investigations that was briefed to the highest levels within the FBI, and that FBI officials expected would eventually be subjected to close scrutiny, raised significant questions regarding the FBI chain of command's management and supervision of the FISA process. Wow. That is a pretty damning report. That's not... And you know this is true because the CIA's guy at NBC News, Ken Delinian, even he's going to tell you this because it's right in the report. You can't deny what's in the report, but you kind of can. Here's a little bit more. The IG report said that the FBI relied heavily on a dossier compiled as part of a Democratic-funded opposition research campaign by a former British spy, Christopher Steele, while failing to inform the court that questions had arisen about Steele's credibility. So just so you know the chain of command, the Democratic Party hired Fusion GPS, this company, to do opposition research on Donald Trump. Fusion GPS, who was working for Hillary Clinton, then hired Steele, this spy from England, to put together dirt on Donald Trump. He then contacts people in Russia to get dirt on Donald Trump. So a foreign spy got dirt from Russia on Donald Trump that the Clinton campaign wanted to use in this camp. Isn't that in the election? Doesn't that sound exactly like what they accused Donald Trump of doing? So the FBI failed to inform surveillance court judges that Carter Page was an operational contact for the CIA for years, and that an employee of the spy agency gave the former Trump aide a positive assessment, according to the Justice Department report released on Monday. So the FBI did not tell the FISA court that Carter Page has been an asset working for them, the intelligence community. That his contacts with Russia are because he's working for CIA. And that they gave him a positive assessment. That the spy agency gave him a positive assessment. They didn't tell the court that. The FBI agent falsely asserted Page's relationship with was outside the scope of the investigation because it dated back to when Page lived in Moscow from 2004 to 2007. This representation, however, was contrary to information that the other agency had provided to the FBI in August 2016, which stated that Page was approved as an operational contact of the other agency from 2008 and 2013, after Page had left Moscow, the IG. So that other agency, they don't say what it is, but it's the CIA. The report also said Page's CIA contacts considered him to have been candid about his interactions with the suspected Russian intelligence officer who was later indicted for acting in an unregistered agent of Russia. So everything from the CIA says that Carter Page is on the up and up, is candid with us, and is working for us with his contacts in Russia. They left all that out. Now, and by the way, you got to remember that they were doing what the FBI was doing was a counterintelligence investigation, which is different than a criminal investigation. So what the FBI was saying to the FISA court is that we're doing a counterintelligence investigation trying to protect the United States from outside foreign actors. And we've got information that Carter Page is working with the Russians inside the Trump campaign. So this isn't a criminal investigation of Trump. This is just counterintelligence. So a big point is, well, if you thought that Carter Page was working with the Russians, which we now know that they knew that he wasn't, they were lying to the court for that. If they really thought that, when the intelligence community meets with Trump when he's running his campaign before he's president to keep him up to date on stuff that's happening in the intelligence world, so if he becomes president, he can hit the ground running. So they give him an intelligence briefing while he's still running the campaign, and they warn him about Russia's interference in the election. But they don't tell him that Carter Page, a guy who's working for his campaign, they think is working for the Russians. Why wouldn't they tell him that? Well, because they know he wasn't. So this was all a lie. So the FBI is completely 100% lying to the FISA court and smearing Carter Page. Carter Page is now going to sue the FBI and he's going to win. And I just want to show you. So I showed you what all those news people were saying about Carter Page. Let me show it to you again because I think it's pretty powerful.
Carter Page was conspiring with Russia in ways that were nefarious.
There was overwhelming evidence to have probable cause to do surveillance on Carter Page. It would have been a dereliction of duty for our FBI not to have sought a surveillance warrant.
As you say, it makes a compelling case that there is probable cause to believe that Carter Page was acting as an agent of a foreign power.
That's a regular citizen volunteering at the campaign, wasn't even being paid, and was actually working with our intelligence community. But the FBI needed to get a FISA warrant, and so they decided, well, we can lie to the FISA court, and we can say that this guy Carter Page, who we've been working with, is actually working against us. That's your FBI, everybody. That's the FBI that the left has been propping up since Trump got elected as if they're some kind of savior. That's the FBI. They're liars, and they're unelected arbiters of who should be our president. So I wanted to show you. So that they did that to Carter Page. And I'm going to show you. Here's MSNBC. This is Nicole Wallace. Remember, she used to work for George Bush, a bona fide war criminal. She used to protect him. And now she's all full of sanctimony because she doesn't like Trump. All of a sudden, she cares about law and morality. Watch what she says about this is what she said before the Inspector General's report came out.
The headline will be, whether you are a Trump supporter or a Trump skeptic, that the FBI is exonerated today from the oft-repeated smear that there was some sort of conspiracy to harm Donald Trump's campaign. It's a big deal. It's good news no matter where you stand on the political spectrum in 2019.
First of all, how did you know that was going to be that's not. If you think if you can read the Inspector General's report and think this is exoneration, you're nuts. So that was before it came out. Then here's actual reporting as it came out. This is on MSNBC. This is their actual reporter reporting on the IG report. Ready?
What it says is the FBI basically repeatedly screwed up at every level, failing to pay enough attention to potential problems with Steele, failing to tell the Justice Department. The Inspector General report says the FISA application was in many ways inaccurate, incomplete, or unsupported. It says, for example, that the FBI failed to look at some of the problems in Steele's past work, that was never sufficiently addressed. What it says...
Okay. And now, here's Nicole Wallace just today Just today, after the IG went and testified about his report, this is her today. And now you know the rest of the story. Watch this.
Questioning of Government Inspector General Michael Horowitz before the Senate Judiciary Committee on the findings of his investigation into the origins of the Russia probe. Horowitz today consistent on the facts as he found them when it comes to allegations against the FBI and Justice Department of illegal spying and a deep state conspiracy against Donald Trump. There is zero evidence to support some of the president's most serious conspiracy theories peddled over and over again for the past 3 years.
This is just straight up bullshit propaganda from someone who's been doing propaganda her whole life. She was a propagandist for Bush's wars and his torture program. That's who she is. This is your truth teller. And she's lying again. Straight up.
Conspiracy theories peddled over and over again.
First of all, I love how anything that Trump asserts is called a conspiracy theory. So anybody they disagree with now in the era of Trump, anybody they disagree with politically is now called a conspiracy theorist. Instead of this contradicts Trump's assertions about what happened. This report is up and down, ridiculing the FBI for being horrible and lying. And what does she say? Completely exonerates the FBI. What kind of a liar? This is MSNBC. This is who they are.
Past 3 years. And though Horowitz finds serious problems at the FBI related to a national security surveillance program, problems that FBI Director Christopher Wray has already committed to fixing immediately.
So do you hear what she just did?
There were just a couple problems.
And they fixed already? They're already fixed.
Just a few little, they're fixed.
That's what she's saying. They've already fixed them. What? You just had the FBI repeatedly at the top, the tippy top of the FBI, repeatedly lying to a FISA court, a secret court, over and over. They didn't do that once for Carter Page. They did that repeatedly. They lied to the FISA court. The FBI at the top. And she says, they already fixed. What's the big deal?
With reforms. But those problems with the FISA process do not, however, undermine the legitimate basis for the investigation launched into Trump's campaign, according to the IG. It's an investigation Horowitz stressed was lawfully predicated. We'll bring you some of the highlights of today's testimony and fact check some of the most outrageous attacks on the FBI, all of those coming from the GOP. But
she's sitting here defending the FBI after this report. That's what MSNBC is doing. MSNBC brings on a liar from the Bush administration to lie to you about what's actually happening. Isn't that something?
And I can trust her because she doesn't like Trump.
Because she doesn't like Trump.
Got it.
That's all it takes.
That's all.
Anything before then, don't worry about it. That's in the past.
Yep.
I love the rehabilitation of people from the Bush era. That's been,
there it is.
So cringeworthy.
So there you go. That's Nicole Wallace, just as dishonest as she's ever been. Couldn't be more dishonest. Couldn't be more of a propagandist. Unable to tell the truth unless it lines up with her current political point of view. And now you know the rest of the story. Now you know what really happened with Carter Page. Now you know who the FBI really is. And of course, they're not emphasizing any of this at MSNBC or CNN. Well, you see how they did it. They just dismiss it. So this isn't over, by the way. So now there's going to be a Senate trial. And if you don't think that the GOP is going to be talking about this Senate, the dossier and bringing this stuff up, you're wrong, because they are. Okay, let me throw it to our panel.
You give me a system where I get to pick between who is the honest actor, Trump and the GOP, or our intelligence community. I'll give you a system that does not need any changing. It's working great. Working great.
Well, I can't stand MSNBC. I was going to start with Nicole Wallace. I can't stand her, but the whole idea that that there's a commentator who was in the Bush regime, and that they helped push the destruction of Iraq and pushed us into this war, the endless wars. It's indefensible. I can't stand it. I can't stand seeing her, and I think what gall she has wearing a white suit. What gall.
So the dossier totally discredited, it was by the way, it's opposition research, meaning the Clintons paid for dirt to a spy in another country to dig up dirt you can't use that in a court as evidence. And they didn't tell the people that was where they got it from. They didn't tell FISA court. But I'm pretty sure, let me see I think this is Nicole Wallace talking about the dossier. So, and it's been completely discredited. It's all garbage. And let's watch this.
His own party, and it's corrosive to relationships around the world.
Oh, it's so scary. All right, when we come back, we're going to put Daniel Dale on the spot and ask him to select Donald Trump's biggest, baddest lie of 2018. And it's been one of the president's triggers since the earliest days of his presidency, the dossier. And while the president likes to claim that it's phony, it's a fact that none of it, not one word, has been disproven. In fact, a lot of it turned out to be right on the money.
This is everything that's wrong. It's like they set it up like, we're going to talk about Trump's biggest lie. Oh, you mean how he let down a bunch of the people that voted for him with that tax cut? You mean how they did the Patriot Act again? How he's not the non-interventionist he said he was going to be? How he didn't come up with a decent healthcare plan? How he didn't do anything for Flint? How he let down pretty much everybody? How it was all a bunch of lies? Is that what you're going to bring up? No, the dossier hasn't been disproved. We're failing miserably. Good night.
In fact, every word of it, she said, is true.
I have a quick question. I thought it was interesting while she was saying all that stuff that they show a picture of Mueller.
Did they? I don't know. Maybe they did. Yeah, that's Mueller.
Right?
Yeah.
And Mueller lied about what?
He lied about weapons of mass destruction.
So this is the person I'm supposed to believe about
I know,
anything else.
Steph. This is why we have a show. This is why we have 650,000 subscribers. This is why. This is why more people watch this show than watch Ari Melber, or whatever you say his name. That's why. Or watch Nicole Wallace. More people watch this show than watch Nicole Wallace. I guarantee you that. I remember when Ronan Farrow was hosting MSNBC, they would have like 10,000 people watching the show. That's how many people would watch MSNBC in the whole country in live stream. Yeah. It was horrible. This is who MSNBC is. Listen to how they're just straight up. And so that's why
his own party, and it's corrosive to relationships around the world.
Oh, it's so scary. All right, when we come back, we're going to put Daniel Dale on the spot and ask him to select Donald Trump's biggest, baddest lie of 2018. And it's been one of the president's triggers since the earliest days of his presidency, the dossier. And while the president likes to claim that it's phony, it's a fact that none of it, not one word, has been disproven. In fact, a lot of it turned out to be right on the money. We'll take a close.
The irony here is that they're trying to throw spitballs at the president because he's a big liar, and they're in the middle of pushing the biggest lie in my lifetime, Russiagate. Isn't that interesting?
You know what, Jimmy?
It's up is down, black is white, in is out. And if you watch mainstream news, you're going to think the exact opposite. You'll be hating the people who are oppressed and loving the people doing the oppressing. Oppressing.
Am I the only one who was also triggered by MSNBC? Right. I'm just triggered now.
Right.
Well, I think this entire clip could be like everything that's wrong with the news media in one soundbite.
Yep.
Like, hey, America, we have a government actively working against the people. It got so bad that a game show host is currently in the White House and it's a circus. But a P-tape, boom! Now we're going to kick a guy in the nuts.
And the DNC's response to that is, hey, you know what? Let's give Tom Perez more screen time.
That's right.
People like it when he talks. They're inspired.
I love it. I love it when Tom Perez talks. I love it. Become a premium member and get hours of bonus material every week. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com/join. Also, come see our live shows. We do live shows all the time. We're going to be in Hawaii. Then we're going to Portland, Tempe, Sacramento, San Jose, Miami. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all the tickets for all of our live shows. See you soon.